Hey y'all, welcome back to Made It Out. I am so excited about today's episode. It's with LGBTQ-affirmative psychotherapist Bonnie Rae, and we answer all of y'all's questions about dating. You are constantly in our comments, emails, DMs asking all of the questions about lesbian dating culture. So we went to the expert and we're having her answer them all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Can we start I want you to give your impressive background and why you're uniquely qualified to be here, because we were very impressed by it and I just want to hear a little bit about it and what led you into the field you're in.
So I've been a practicing psychotherapist for around 13 years now. What led me into it? Probably my own therapy, my own relationship with a therapist who happened to also be lesbian identified, which is how I identify, and really just needing that mirroring. And I have the luckiest job in the world. I really, really feel that way. I have the best job in the world. I also taught for a while. I was an instructor at a graduate school for psychology. So for 5-6 years, I taught a lesbian identity, lesbian love liberation class, and a queer women loving other queer women class.
Oh my gosh.
I forget about that part.
That's the most important part. You are the perfect person to have here. We get so many questions about, we get DMs, comments, emails about lesbian dating and just why it is the way it is. I think it's a very unique thing to be living within.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to talk about some of those common questions that we get today, dating culture in general. Okay, I want to start with, why can dating as a lesbian feel so tough?
Oh, taking me back. I think dating for everyone is tough. I think when we're talking about queer women, I think about just where you are in your coming out process. So a lot of people will say, when did you come out? And I'll say, well, I first came out when I was 18. I last came out yesterday, right? When someone asked me about my husband that I do not have, right? So we're always coming out. And I think that people enter into dating at different parts of their coming out journey. So, right, you have people who have never dated women before and are really scared. And then you have people who are like, I've been doing this for a long time, right? I feel jaded. And those types of dynamics can kind of come up. I also think it is a smaller community. And so you'll hear people say, and I used to say it before I met my wife, I know every queer woman in LA. There's no one for me. I know everyone, and it wasn't true, but it's a smaller community, and sometimes you fall for people that your friends dated or your ex dated, and then you make friends, and there's always that, do I want to be friends with you? Am I attracted to you? Do I want to be like you? So there's lots of confusion that I think can come up with queer people.
Yeah. Do you say that it's not a reality, that there's not anybody out there? But why does it feel that way? Why can't we find queer women? Why is it harder to find them?
Invisibility, right? This is why I love that you're doing this and why I was like, sign me up, right? Because you are contributing to visibility for queer people, for queer women. I think women in general, right? We live in a very male-dominant society. So you already have one layer of oppression. Add queer identity, there's another, right? For some people, for BIPOC people, add another layer, there's triple oppression, right? We are hidden. That mixed with a lack of spaces. I know there are more now, but there's still not enough, right? Back in the day for me, it was just the Abbey, and that was I think they have a queer women's night now.
Yeah, are they still doing that? I don't know.
But think about every bar you go into is for straight people.
Yes.
Right? We'll get a night.
Yes.
A one night. It's your one night, right?
Yeah.
And so there's just not enough visibility. And also, a lot of people, I know as somebody who passes as straight, I would show up in those spaces back in the day And people would assume I was straight. And so nobody hit on me.
Yeah.
I truly never got hit on. I'm with my wife because I hit on her.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about visibility for me.
Yeah, that's a good point, because really these like nights mostly only happen at clubs or like in scenes that are very specific.
Yes.
So you really only have a specific portion of the lesbian population or queer women population showing up to these, because a lot of us don't like those spaces or feel comfortable in those spaces.
Completely.
Yeah.
If I were single being a therapist, right? Like, I'm like, what would I do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, where would I go? We are everywhere. Queer women I know this as a therapist. We are everywhere. But again, there's nowhere for us to go to meet and connect except for nights at a bar. And that's just not a space for everyone.
I feel like as far as finding queer women, a pivotal thing for me was the apps. When I moved from Texas, nobody knew me. And I was just like, okay, first thing, switch to women on Hinge.
And you had nowhere to go.
I had nowhere to go.
Nope.
Where do I find the ladies? And I had heard all the hot women were on Hinge. So that's exactly where I went. And I started swiping.
As a partnered person for many years, I agree that all the hot women are on Hinge because truly one of my best friends and then my ex-friend.
Yes.
I'm like, give me your phone. They know what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at Hinge and I'm going to go through and I know what they like and then we're going to fight over it. And I'm literally like, where were these women when I was single?
Yeah.
They were not where I went.
Well, but also, like we were saying, I think it's because not all of these women are going to go to the club. You are not going to find me at the club at kitty cat night or whatever the fuck it is. You are just not going to find me there. I don't want to do that. It's not my vibe.
You're not going to go to kitty cat night?
That's not really my vibe.
No.
It's like, I'm going to be in the comfort of my own home.
Right.
Smoking a joint and swiping.
Right. I was a therapist. Where am I going to go? Hang out with all my clients? No.
So true.
No. I would have been screwed.
Wait, that's such a good point.
I would have been
swipe
screwed.
left on all these clients.
Right? Me at Dyke Day. Like, I would have been screwed.
In disguise on Dyke Day.
Fully.
What do you think is different about how queer women meet each other and straight culture, besides just that everywhere you go is straight?
I think because of that, there's more pressure. I imagine being straight and like going to all the bars that are for me, and it's like something that you just do. People hit on you, you hit on people. Like there's an easier exchange. I think for queer people, there's more just emotion behind it because it is harder. It's not as frequent. I think there's a lot of I definitely see this with my single queer women clients. There's a lot of I'm anticipating this. Like my straight clients are not always like, oh, there's this girl I'm going to meet or there's this guy I'm going to meet. There's like so much wrapped up into it. Like I really hope that this works out. Right? Mm-hmm. Because again, I finally found somebody I didn't know that I'm attracted to, that I really hope this works out. And if it doesn't, there's like a real sadness and fear around it. So I think that's what's different.
Yeah,
it's more precious.
Yeah, because this idea that there's not as many people out there, so every single one counts or matters so much more.
Right.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's such an ease with like straight culture because the dynamics are just so set. But like what you were saying, how as femme presenting lesbians, I remember when I first started dating, I was like, hello, I'm here. Like, how do I let you know? And then even when you try to put yourself out there and like flirt with a girl, it's like, do you know? Can you tell that I'm flirting with you?
Can you tell? Well, so we talk about, and I've gone through this with a lot of clients too, back in the day, it was like, do you have dyke boots on or a flannel or a beanie and like a parliament like hanging out of your mouth, like truly.
But now that's hard to see because the straight girls are trying to look like us.
They took our vibe, man. Yes. But in another way, like you also want to be authentic. Yeah. That's what makes us so beautiful as queer people, right? We were told not to be this. So when you are yourself and you walk this path, authenticity is everything. But if you feel like in order to date people, I need to like, right, there was like a side shave was a thing at one point, right? You want to be able to be yourself. You want to be able to wear the clothes that feel most you or just most that you're most comfortable in. But for a while it felt like, I would get a lot of like, are you like Ellen DeGeneres or Portia de Rossi? And I'd be like, I don't, neither. Like, I don't,
Yes.
Right? There was like no space. And if those were your two models back in the day, we're missing a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it's gotten better.
I feel like there is this like shift that you kind of take. Like when I came out, it was like, okay, I have to start flagging and start dressing a little more, however, it's almost like this pendulum or something. You like go so far to the other side to like show like, hey, I'm queer enough. I can be here.
Right.
And I've talked about this before. Like I still find myself in this space of like, I am not as femme as I was before. I like had implants and I got them taken out and I've really like kind of changed appearance wise. I am still femme, but I'm not as femme. So I think I'm like trying to exist and trying to be authentic, but I'm struggling with like what still classifies me as a femme lesbian if I'm not, if I don't have this super femme presenting body and if I'm not wearing the pumps and if I'm not, it's hard. I think I'm still trying to find that.
I'm curious about for you, just whether it's a need or a desire for that femme to classify it as that.
I think I'm still unpacking that. I think for a really long time, I existed in places. I grew up in Texas. I existed in places where that's what was valued. I have struggled with eating disorders and body dysmorphia and all of these things. And I think I still am very much unpacking what part of that is me and what part of that is conditioning.
That's amazing. Right? It takes time.
Yeah, a lot of time.
People come into therapy and share these vulnerable things like that and hope that it just goes away. But your conditioning started, I'd say, before you were even born. Your parents might have found out, oh, you're a girl, and assumed as such and projected as straight girl and that you would be like them. And right, like it starts before you're even born. Who you're going to be, the pressures of who you're supposed to be. So it takes time.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm just thinking about like how all of us in the queer community probably struggle with this to some degree.
Oh, sure.
And then how that's like layered into who we're attracted to and who we think we should date and who am I really attracted to this masculine look or presenting person, or is it the energy, or is it, because I feel like when I first came out, I was attracted to the type of lesbian who very much emulated or like tried to like put in hetero dynamics. And now I'm realizing in my current relationship, like while there is still some of that there,
sure,
there's much more of a comfortability from both of us with our like more masculine and feminine sides, and some things that you would think that Mathilde would do, she doesn't, and I pick up and vice versa. And
that's
so
fun. Often that case, right? I think we had talked about the other day in working with couples, a common challenge is expectation on who's going to play what role based on who's more masculine or feminine. Oftentimes with sex. Well, the more masculine presenting one is expected to initiate. This isn't all the time, but this happens. But I love what you're saying, which is you're still figuring it out. And you'll notice that even just as you get older, right? Like you might change styles or change energies and letting that be fluid instead of fixed. And your attraction might change.
I think there definitely is still those expectations in our relationship. Like, especially in sex, I think I haven't been able to let that go. That like, I guess hetero expectation. And it's really hard to kind of switch that and be like, okay, let me switch my energy and get rid of all of my past traumas and things that have happened to me and now like embody that and come into that. I think especially at the same time where I'm struggling with body and trying to figure out where I'm confident in. It's just kind of this like jumbled thing of like, how do I be confident enough to initiate and be that person when I'm still releasing all of those body fears or problems or things in my head.
As women, we were conditioned to not talk about sex, not think about sex. Even little, I'm going to say boys, but we don't know that they're boys, bodies that have penises, right? I see people in the playground like laughing when they're playing with their penis. And with little teeny bodies with, vulvas, vaginas, it's like, don't touch. right? So if you even just think about those earlier moments, we were really taught, one, not to have pleasure, and two, that there's a shame involved with our bodies. Then to think about like queer sex, we were not given the language.
Right.
There's not even a language for us. We're like searching on all the things, trying to figure out what anything means. And it's carried into all these dynamics, one with your relationship with your own body, and then with your relationship with other people's bodies. So your journey is like so understandable with what you've been through and coming from Texas of all places, right?
Yeah.
And what you were taught from your family and society, what your values are.
Yeah.
Right? And where they lie. And it's hard to let go of that because maintaining those values is probably what made you feel safe and what made you feel loved.
Yeah. And I found even when I was first coming out, or even when I was kind of in the dating scene, it shows up even less deep than sex. Like even that initial contact. It's like,
gosh,
you're on the app and who talks first?
Okay. So I was just talking to my first love. We're very good friends. We were together for years, starting when I was 18. We were at the LGBT Dodger night, and I'm always asking for her Hinge profile because I didn't get to do that. It is so fun for me.
Living
I can say that I understand that it brings up a lot for people, but we were looking through that, and she was saying so many times she'll like something on someone's profile or like a person, and then the girl will like it back, and then she was like, and then it sits empty in the chat. And it's like, who's going to say the first thing?
Yeah.
Who's going to initiate it, right?
Yes.
There's still that we were not taught how to engage with other women in a flirtatious way, right?
Yes.
Is that my role? Is that her role, right? There's still that understandable discomfort that queer people have.
How do we get past it? Teach us. Tell me.
Well, you work through it. You look at what it's bringing up for you. Usually if you're experiencing anxiety about something, the anxiety is not a feeling. Anxiety comes in when you're avoiding what you're actually feeling, what you're actually feeling that's underneath. I could get really into this. I will spare you. But what is the real feeling here? Is it fear? Is it grief? Is it anger? Whatever it is. And I think that as queer people, I mean, look how bold and brave it is. You risk rejection from society, from your family. Right? To just remind yourself of that. And to, if you're interested, say the thing.
Yeah.
I have a wife because I said something. I'd never hit on anybody in my life. Never thought I would. And I did. And here we are. 12 years later, 2 kids, very, very much in love because I said something.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of good to remember that, like, we're probably feeling some variation of the same thing.
Yes.
So it's like somebody just has to bridge that gap.
Someone just has to do it. And we have to be okay with fumbling through. We have to be okay with discomfort, with like, we just have to.
That's what when anybody asks me about dating or whatever, I'm just like, it's going to be bad. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be embarrassing. That's just what it is. And you just have to be okay with that. You're going to look like an idiot a few times until you find the person that's going to love you for looking like that idiot.
And if they're a person for you, like, you're going to be awkward and you're going to both be laughing and it's charming.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't have to be this romantic, picturesque thing that we see on like the 10 queer women loving women films that we have. Like, it doesn't need to look like
You know what?
that.
That's interesting to bring up is that also, like, we don't see a lot of variations of stories.
No.
So we don't have a lot to go by of like, the awkward lesbian girl who still finds love.
We all know the same stories, right? Because most of us have seen most of the queer women loving women films because we're desperate for it.
Totally.
Right? Like, we're desperate for it, but it doesn't, those are movies. It doesn't look like that.
Matilda and I's first date, we both didn't know if it was a date.
I hear this all the time. Are we going out as friends?
Yeah.
Is it a date? That's what I said earlier of like, you're like, am I into you? Do I like, it's so confusing.
Yes. I brought a friend on our second date and Matilda was like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, what are you doing? I was such a mess for like the first 6 weeks. True. Okay, fair. Something that was kind of weird for me when I first got into the scene because of how I am. I'm very much like when I am done with someone, I am done. I also my problem, like I get to that point in a relationship where like when I'm done with you, I'm very done. But so I've never had exes that are friends, but everybody is friends with their, not everybody, but a lot of people in the queer community are friends with their exes and sometimes very good friends.
Yeah.
And so from a therapist lens, is this healthy? Is this normal? What's going on?
Such a good question. I think can be healthy and very deeply rewarding. I think it also can be toxic. It depends on the people. I have some exes that I just wouldn't be friends with. If it was super toxic in the romantic or sexual partnership, it's likely going to be toxic as a friend. Then, as I was saying, one of my very, very best friends is my first love. And it took us, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Oh, wow.
We always would like maybe see each other once a year if we were living in the same place. And there were always feelings, I can't speak for her, but for me of like, we were so young, like, but every time I was single, she had a girlfriend. And anytime she was single, I had a girlfriend. Now I think we both just understand that we just have a deep friendship. That is why our relationship was the way it was.
Right.
Also, my wife is a huge fan. They get along great. If that wasn't there, I'd call it an ex-ship. That's what I like to call it with my clients.
Okay.
This isn't a friendship. This is an ex-ship. If it were a friendship, you could bring your new girlfriend around and they would be so kind and lovely to them.
Interesting.
It's not a friendship. So one, ex-ship, still feelings involved by one or two people, not healthy, jealousy, attachment stuff, not a friendship. A real friendship, it's like family. And the reason it's common with queer people is because look at the world we're living in, right? We bond deeper. We're closer. We do become family. So the breakup to just lose somebody that was like your family for so long, especially when you're breaking up just because you fell out of love, but you're still best friends, is a really hard thing to let go of for queer people, especially queer women.
Okay, I want to get to the bonding deeper, but first I want to ask about if you are like the person coming into that situation, or if you're dating a new person who has a problem with that, that's kind of messy because that could just be that person's specific attachment style or fears or jealousy. So like, how do you navigate that and know that line of who is in the wrong and who's in the right here?
We have to get out of right and wrong.
Okay.
It's about feelings. It's with the partner coming in, we haven't built a solid enough foundation for me to feel comfortable with that. And for the person who's still friends with their ex, hopefully they're going, that's my best friend. Like that, we're friends. That ship has sailed. But it takes time. It takes openness. And mostly, so I used to be one of those people. I was very anxiously attached. I moved to New York for somebody that I met on MySpace. She was friends with all of her exes and I was freaking out. I'm in this new city. It's really big. I don't have many friends here. This is my second girl I've ever dated. And it really, really scared me. Being in that situation now, I've done a lot of my own work and I feel really secure where that I'm like, I want to meet all your exes, babe. Can we hang out with them? Like, I need to know what's up, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it was not about the other person. It was my own work to do, to understand what was coming up for me. Mine was always feeling number two as a child to my sister with my mom. And my mom's my first love object, right? So I needed to feel number one. And if I didn't feel number one, if there was threat, the little Bonnie, like little me, was panicked. Am I going to lose you? Once I could work through that, if you cheat on me with your friend, like we're not meant to be. So.
Right. Yeah, that's such an interesting point because I also feel not only the self-work, but the right relationship, it will not feel, because I would think with my first girlfriend, and that was before I did a lot of my kind of inner work and realized like, whoa, the problem might be me a little bit. I was super anxious and super like fearful.
Yeah.
And then coming into this relationship with Mathilde, I love her exes. And I'm like,
Right.
friends with all of them and we get along. And so it was just, I think,
Doesn't that feel good?
so good. Yes.
Right.
It's like there's no fear, there's no stress. And I think it's a combination of like, yes, the work that I've done on myself, but also like Matilda's so secure. She makes me feel so good about it. Yeah, 100%.
Right. You trust her.
So I think it's like a combination of the right relationship and you meeting the relationship with like the work you've done on yourself.
Now, I also want to say there have been times, and I'm thinking about a client of mine, where the friendship is toxic, where there's still that I expect you to, there's a codependency there. And because of that, it's not leaving space for intimacy to form with a new partner. So
what are the signs of that?
Overly taking care of the ex's feelings still, like still feeling indebted to them or still feeling like I need to be that person to take care of you.
Yeah.
When it's not really appropriate for a friendship.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I want to talk about U-hauling.
Okay.
It's a real thing. Matilda and I did it. We basically have lived together since day one. I will not lie.
Yeah.
My dog, look, I had 2 dogs. I was living in
mid-cities. Excuse. Come on. I'm hearing the excuses.
I drove a sedan.
Okay.
I was toting these 2 big dogs back and forth.
Okay.
I said, we just live here.
You did it for the dogs.
I did it for the dogs.
My excuse with my wife is that she got bed bugs. She got bed bugs. Oh, she's going to kill me. It's like she feels so much shame. This was a very long time ago in Echo Park.
That is horrifying.
She got bed bugs. She was so freaked out and she wouldn't let me come to her house. And I thought she was living with her ex-girlfriend. I was like, or is it a guy? Like, what is happening that I can't go to your house?
Oh.
They were gone by the time I got there, but she was still very freaked out. And then we convinced ourselves that she still had one. And then I was convinced that my place must have one. If your place has one, you've been sleeping at my place, I have them. So we were like month 3 and we were like, I guess we need to find a new apartment. Why get 2? Why get 2 when we can get 1?
Bed bugs.
Bed bugs.
Comment below what your excuse was.
Bed bugs. Okay, but in all seriousness, here's why I think it happens with queer women. 1, there's what we call an urge to merge with women, right? Again, you're in a very male-dominant, very heteronormative society. When 2 women get close, there is this closeness. It's why we have higher rates of love addiction, higher rates of codependency in our dynamics. Not to say that cisgender men and cisgender women can't be best friends, but like typically as women, we're talking more, we're feeling more, we're doing more, right? We become best friends. Yeah. And then it's like, I don't want to spend time with other people. Yeah. I want to be with you, which we got to work on, right?
Yeah.
So in my case and in your case, the U-hauling worked, but sometimes it doesn't. And here's the biggest issue I see. The first 6 months of a relationship, you actually are high. You are high. You have higher levels of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, adrenaline. Like you are fully high. And so it is the best feeling in the world. Right? I've gone through it many times and it's the best feeling, but then those chemicals drop. And when those chemicals drop, people come to therapy like, uh-oh. It's like, oh, now you're seeing who they really are. The projection that you've projected onto them is falling. You got 1 to 3 puzzle pieces and you filled in the whole puzzle.
Wow.
And now we're dismantling the puzzle and you actually have a real opportunity for closeness with this person, but you have to get to see them for who they are. And now there's a chance to deepen intimacy, or we realize, what the fuck?
Right.
This is not a person for me, but it can be traumatizing, especially if you've U-hauled it.
So it really is kind of just like luck, if it works or not.
Could be luck. Some might say like it just was like meant to be, but also relationships take work. Yeah. They do. I got lucky in that I was so high with my wife when I made these choices. When I think about her in those 6 months, she's very different than what I see now.
Interesting.
I got lucky in that I still really love and like her, right? Without the projection, without the chemicals.
Yeah, that's really interesting because you always hear like you don't know someone for the first 6 months. I feel like Matilda's very much the same person. You didn't really mask or hide, but I feel like things that didn't annoy me before annoy the fuck out of me now.
Sure.
I love you, but we need a camera on her. Like, or just like things that maybe were endearing. Now I'm like, babe.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to say 95% of the time when I have a couple sit on my couch and they tell me, how can I help you? What's the problem, right? They tell me what the problem is. I will ask first or maybe second session. So tell me, like, take me back to the beginning. Tell me what made you fall for this person. And I go, how interesting. Isn't that kind of what the problem is now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just what you're saying. Right? Sometimes the things that we're drawn to end up being the things that pull us away. Yeah, I really loved that you were super independent, and now that's the thing that's really scaring me. So it's not necessarily that we're acting different at the beginning. I think I was very much myself. It's that we can sometimes see people different or project onto them, or we're just fucking high. Right? We're just high.
I love that. I want to talk about this codependency thing because
Sure.
I think it's so real. In my case, like Matilda and I spend every waking moment together. We share a friend group. We also chose to work together. So there's like so many layers of just like we are each other's whole world. That's just become our normal. And I think we work really well within that. And that's fine for us.
Yeah, it works for you.
But it's also like, where is that line of like, we are very codependent and that is our dynamic. And is that okay? Is that normal?
I'm going to, from what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing codependence.
Oh, okay.
I'm hearing that there's some maybe enmeshment, like you have multiple relationships, right? Your business partners, right? There's a lot of those like dual relationships happening. People think because of the word, I really wish it was a different word, that codependence means you are not independent or that codependence is because you spend a lot of time together. I'd always rather be with my wife. I have to work hard to like pull away and like go be with friends sometimes because she's my best friend.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean we're codependent, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Codependence is, for me, is when you are rejecting a need, a want, a part of yourself out of maybe anxiety, right, to take care of somebody else. So in a previous relationship of mine, or I'm thinking about so many clients of mine, they did not want to go to the thing. They turned against themselves because they did not want their partner to be mad, or they did not want to trigger their anxiety. So they went, I hear you, nope, push down, right? And they went, and then they're mad at their partner later or mad at themselves.
Got it.
Right? So it's when you're not doing you and you're taking care of somebody else, right? That's codependency.
Wow. I think that's such an important clarification.
Yes.
And then enmeshment is being multiple things for...
That's more like dual relationship. I think enmeshment is like, how would you describe it? It's kind of just a merging. People can still be enmeshed with a parent.
Right.
Right? Where there's a part of you that's really a part of them. There's projection happening. There's, she taught me to be this way, so I am that way. You're still enmeshed. You're taking care of each other. You're still like this, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of a broader umbrella. But codependency is not about the time you spend together. It's about self-rejection. Does that make sense?
So as long as we are living within this, like doing our thing, and as long as we are still honoring ourselves as people, then you're in a healthy
relationship.
zone. Got it.
You're both happy. It's what you want. You're not rejecting a part of yourself. You're not ignoring yourself and your own needs.
Huh.
Let's go. Yeah.
Wow, babe.
I just
killing
undiagnosed
it.
your asses.
And I just think it's so common with lesbians because it's like most of our friends are couples. And we're like, well, if you're going to go hang out with Zoya, then I'm going to go hang out with Alex. Like, why not all go together?
Right.
It just makes sense,
Right.
So it's hard to kind of have that.
Right.
There's no natural separation. I think even when we talk about bachelor party or bachelorette parties, it's like, well, we'll just do it together,
You don't want to be apart. Like, I don't think there's a problem with that now. If you two were to break up, it's part of why breakups with queer women are so fucking painful. Because your
let's get into
friend
this.
group is the same, right? I've gone through at my age divorces with my queer friends in our group, and there's like pressure to side with, or and I'm like a therapist to both sides. It's really, really tough.
Yeah.
When there's been that enmeshment or dual relationships, and now there's this detachment we have to deal with, right?
Right.
So you're losing your family, your like primary person, and then it's like it affects everything, really.
Yeah.
And it's why a lot of people stay together when they shouldn't.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, because how do you decipher that? How do you go through that and know, like, who am I actually doing this for? Because we have friends who were like, just don't stay together for the kids, meaning us, because this will be really fucking hard. It does become that way because we do. Every year it's inevitable. We have one breakup that really alters the entire friend group and kind of splits everybody off. We don't want it to be that way.
Right.
But naturally it just does. It is hard because it's like, who am I truly doing this for? Because now we've become all as this community, like this really enmeshed community.
Right. And remember, as queer people, we like come together in community because look at what we're dealing with in this world. We need each other. Genuinely, we need community. I don't think we could survive times like these without community. So I do think it's important, even if you are one of those people in a relationship, that you nourish your community. It can't just be the 2 or 3 or 4 of you, depending on your relationship structure.
Yeah. And making sure that you have people, no matter what the situation or outcome is, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Because loss and grief, it can happen in so many different ways. And it shakes the whole community when there are these breakups, like the whole community, right?
It is so crazy.
It's devastating.
And I can't help but think, like, I don't think it's like that as much in straight communities.
No, I don't have these conversations with straight people ever.
Yeah.
Because, they break up, they go with their own friends that they always had. There's not an established community, right? And then they go to all their bars and all their different places.
Yeah.
They're not going to see each other.
Yeah, you can naturally separate.
Right?
But with us, everybody's at kitty cat night.
Everybody's at kitty cat night. Everybody's at dyke day.
Yes.
Right? Your exes, your friends, for me, my clients. And yeah.
God, it's like we can't even help but be this way.
It's so hard. My first breakup, I was like, I cannot be a lesbian. I cannot do it. I was like, the heartbreak of this is so painful. I don't care. I'll just date men. And that didn't last.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can't.
Said, you know what?
I was like,
nothing's worse than this.
I can't do it. I'll do the heartbreak. Yeah. I'll just die every time and then, survive it.
How do we get closure in those situations? How do we move through breakups and friendship dynamics changing? What does the work look like?
This might be like such a cliche therapist thing to say, but I truly believe that closure comes from within. I think we want that from other people. We don't always get that. If we break up and you see things, your story is different than mine, where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Right? It's just like death or like sudden loss. You don't get closure from the other person always. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you can have those beautiful breakups where you're both on the same page. And other times you have to find it within. So the work is yours to be able to feel and process your grief, right? Maybe feel and process your anger. I think we as women, like, we really struggle to feel our rage, but it is there.
Yeah.
And when we don't feel it, that's why we have autoimmune issues. That's why we have chronic pain, right? That's the headaches, migraines. Scientists, medical people are like, why are women hurting more? Well, because we don't feel our rage. We were raised not to. So the closure is in you to really process what happened, feel the pain of the loss. I suggest getting a good therapist to help you do that. And you will find closure when you understand where you are and why that relationship is no longer.
And then how do you navigate like the friendship dynamics? Because it's like, who do you turn to when all of your friends are the same? And like, how do you know how much you can disclose and how much to keep to yourself? Like, that's a really, luckily I haven't had to deal with that. But how do you navigate that?
I've been on the breakup side, but I've many times been on the I'm a friend of both of you.
Yeah.
Right? In an ideal world, there's maturity there. If my friend and somebody else breaks up, even if I'm closer, I'm not going to be like, fuck them. That's just not my style. Right? I can support my friend and also have compassion for the other person. That's also just who I am and my job.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me, but it's all about open conversations. Like to say to maybe the one you were friends with first or the closer one to say, let's talk about how you feel with me still having a friendship with this other person. Right? And validating them. That's so hard and so painful. What are your boundaries around that? And maybe having the same conversation with the other person. Hey, just so you know, like I'm friends with them. And I don't think it's the best idea talking about them in that way because I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with that information. Yeah. I might not be the best person. Yeah. And I totally understand where you're coming from. I can do that because that's my job. I can hold both. But some people understandably struggle with that. Yeah. People recover. My very best friend just delivered her ex, who we were all friends. This is my primary queer group. We've been friends for like 15 years. Her ex's wife's baby last week. Wow. She was a doula. She cut the umbilical cord, and there's this beautiful picture of the three of them. And they're like, we could not have done it without Erin. That's my best friend. Like, how did we get here? You two were together. We were, and there was a painful breakup, and then you came back together during a time when one of them lost a parent. Everybody just came together. And how beautiful is that? So it can be really beautiful. And I think communities can break but can heal. I mean, look, we're queer people. We have been ostracized. We have been killed. Like, we have fought to be here. So communities can break and they can heal. And then sometimes we have to say that's not a person for me and we part.
But I love that messaging of like, I think that speaks further to why our communities are so solid and so strong is because we do go through these like what feel like such devastating heartbreaks to us. And then we can all come back together and say like, okay, ultimately, like you are my family, you are my queer community, like I love you and let's all be together.
I do notice with younger queer people, there's a tendency to split the community apart, like I'm on your side. And that there's hurt. We aren't taught to deal with our pain. Yeah. The more we as people, the more we as queer people deal with our pain, that's when I see change happens. But you have to feel it. You know, when I say deal with it, I really mean feel it. Yeah. Right? Really feel the real feelings.
Yeah. Like it all starts
within. There.
Wow. I love this conversation. And you know what? After we do all that healing, that's when you go get on the apps. How do you know when it's time to get back out there? After all the heartbreak, after you've done the work, how do you know?
That is a great question. You have to attune to yourself. There are people who cannot be alone, who are jumping from relationship to relationship to avoid themselves. That alone is going to make it a hard thing for you to really connect deeply with somebody if you're constantly running from yourself. So it's different for every person. If I have a client where I'm like, do you notice that you're never alone? Do you notice that there's a pattern here? What would it be like to take some time and sit with yourself? That would be a person that I would say, let's learn how to be with you first, right? There's no rule book around it, but I think you know. If you're doing it to escape something is very different than, you know what? I went through that. It fucking sucked. I grieved it, but I feel open and ready.
Yeah. And I really believe that when you get to that point is when you find the right person, because you're just like, I mean, I'm woo-woo, but you're like vibrating at a different frequency. You're like, you're like a different energy. It's a different energy that you're putting out there. It's like a attract and like not a chase and not a desperation.
For me, I was so obsessed with finding that person. With like a woo-woo. I'd like visualize what she looked like, right? I was so obsessed with finding that person. And then I stopped and I was really digging my friendships and literally 10 minutes before I walked into the restaurant where my wife was. I remember being in the back of my friend's car, just so happy I was with my friends, not thinking about somebody. And that's when I met her.
Of course it is. Yes. That is the messaging. I was such a fucker when I first met Matilde for like 6 weeks. I was just like, nah, I'm okay. Because I was so happy with like my inner world and the life that and the life that I had built for myself. I was vibing. I was like, this is so okay.
Right.
And just like you, I remember saying like, you know what? It's fine. If I never meet someone, I'm cool. I like this.
So for some people, it's pulling back. It sounds like it was very much the case for us. For other people, it's putting themselves out there. It's looking at like, I've been withdrawing from intimacy and I've done the work, but I feel scared. And that's why apps are helpful. Like that's why we have these platforms now to connect with other people. Yeah. So for some people, it's pulling back. For other people, it's putting yourself out there.
Wow.
Which is so scary.
Wow. That, but like, what a great gauge to, if you like understand that, and if you know that, and if you're getting in touch with yourself, that's such a great gauge to know like, okay, like I'm not there yet, or like, okay, I am.
Yeah. And sometimes people enter relationships and then go, oh, I'm so sorry, I wasn't ready. Honesty. Yeah. You just have to be honest.
I could literally talk to you all day. I have one more question to ask everybody this. What are you, as a therapist, working on in therapy?
Oh, no. Okay, so there's a mirroring thing happening in my work. I've done this for a while, and I'm comfortable. I do good work, I think, right? I believe. And I just was feeling like, I could continue this way, or I can be a student again. Right? Like I'm a teacher a lot of the times. And so I just entered into a 3-year training program.
Oh my gosh.
For this wild, very rare type of therapy.
Okay.
Called intensive short-term dynamic therapy. When we as therapists are doing work, what you might not know with other people is we're doing the same work back in a way. Like you think that you're just paying to get help, but these relationships bring up stuff for us too.
Interesting.
So in this new work that I'm doing, I'm looking at defense mechanisms, how people even walk into the therapy room defended. Are they making a joke when they walk in? When I start to bring up emotion, do they start looking away? When they feel something, anxiety comes in, a defense mechanism comes out. Wow. It could be pain in your arm. A client the other day when I was doing this work started saying that she thought she was going to throw up. Her body was feeling the emotion. So my own work right now is recognizing all the ways that I'm defended and that I'm protected. So when you're learning, you're thinking about your clients, but I'm thinking about myself too.
Right.
So my work right now is to work on feeling what I'm really feeling, right? I have a lot of chronic pain because I was taught to not experience painful feelings. My parents both just turn away at that. So really I'm working on feeling. It's as simple as that. I'm working on feeling my real feelings and letting that be okay and not unconsciously running from them.
In practice, what does that look like?
In practice, right, I know what my defenses are. They're common with queer women, by the way. Defenses are embodiment, intellectualizing. Queer women are the smartest fucking people who will ever sit on my couch. Wow. Couples, I'm like, you guys, I don't care if you know all the therapy terms. You're doing this because you're scared to feel what you're feeling.
Wow.
So it's noticing. Mine is humor when I'm anxious, right? I probably came in here loaded with jokes and being silly because I was nervous. And under that's a fear of being public, right?
Yeah.
Usually my conversations are private. So being in the public is scary for me. So I came in with my defense mechanisms up. I'm mindful of them. But what I'd like to be able to do more is tend to what the feeling is beneath it.
Wow. And how can we work to learn those things? Is it just presence?
I think so. Yeah. Or noticing if you have headaches, if you have somatic symptoms, if you have stomach aches, if you have muscle pain, right? Is there an emotion that maybe I'm feeling that I'm not safe and I'm not allowing myself to feel?
Wow.
When I feel sad or I feel anxious, where do I go? What do I do? So it's really learning to attune to yourself. The other thing is confrontation. I think that's hard for queer women. It's hard for me too. If I feel really safe, I can tell my wife anything. If I'm mad at her, she's going to know it.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes hard to do that with other people.
Okay, we play a game.
Okay.
It's called You Haul or You Ghost. So imagine yourself back in the dating scene.
Okay.
You meet your perfect person and they just have this one quirk. Their whole TikTok is them doing dance trends.
You ghost.
I feel like I'm a you ghost on this one too, although I'm kind of like, you're putting yourself out there.
No, I love it for everyone. In full transparency, like I barely know what TikTok is.
Oh,
I do
God,
not have
so
one.
lucky.
Like I just never, I was like, we got to stop at Instagram. Do you know what I mean? So I hear TikTok and
You freeze.
I panic.
Honestly, I love that for you. That means your brain hasn't fully rotted like mine. What about they memorize rap lyrics specifically so that they can like have a party trick and like go to a party and know all the lyrics?
Like what rap are we talking about? Like if we're like Lil Wayne, it's a maybe for me.
Okay.
I might be okay, depending on like everything else.
I think it's more of just the act of like, I'm going to Google this song and I'm going to memorize the lyrics so that I can show everybody I know. To me, this is a you ghost. Yeah.
Bye.
This feels pick me to me.
No. You ghost.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
I'm glad we landed there.
Okay.
Okay, their karaoke song is Ave Maria. It's very
Who made that question? That's so good.
It's because I know someone who's is.
You ghost.
You ghost? Oh my God, I find this so endearing. Like if you get up there and you seriously grab the mic, especially if you're really shitty.
Okay, if you're funny about it.
If it's like horrible.
If you're funny about it, or maybe you're like a real singer, then maybe I think I need more information on the person.
Okay.
If they thought they were really good and stood up there, I'd be like, I really love you, but like it's a self-awareness. I don't know. I just need more information.
That is so fair. To me, I'm looking at this like you are a fucking awful singer. And you get up there and this is just your bit.
That's a U-Haul for me.
It's funny.
Because my wife and I, before we met, the reason I was not her type at all.
Oh my God.
Like, at all. But we were texting all night because I left my number where she was a server.
Okay.
And she was like, I was karaokeing with friends. And she said something about my go-to is Hanson. She used to love Hanson. And I knew really random Hanson lyrics. And that was what she was like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. And then we talked all night.
Bonding over Hanson. And so, but if that didn't happen and you asked me Hanson, I would say, you ghost. Do you know what I mean? Yes. It's all about context.
Yeah.
I have learned so much from you. I'm so, so appreciative. Thank you for being here.
Of you, and this podcast is so important.
Can you tell people where to find you?
So my website is www.bonnieraetherapy.com. That's RAE. Eventually it will be Rae Therapy Group, but that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Thank y'all for listening to today's episode. As always, help us spread the gay agenda by writing an Apple review, rating us on Spotify, and sharing with everyone you've ever met. And if you haven't yet, join our subscription community, Made It In, for exclusive Made It Out media shows, content, and chat rooms at madeitout.supercast.com. Made It Out is produced by Matilde Jordan and worked on solely by lesbians.
The gay dilemma. Is it romance or envy? Who cares? Just have fun.